So I'm Erin.
I'm Tom. Oh God, what are we laughing about already?
Tom is like very serious. This is Baby's First Watch List. So today we're going to be discussing a movie that I put as a very small swath of our friends having seen it, but I don't think anyone's seen it.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Unless you watched it since we told you to watch it on the Pan's Labyrinth episode, which I think was our last one, right?
Do you really think anybody did that?
Oh, not a single shot. Nobody has. I mean, the only way to watch it would have been, legal way to watch it would have been if you had Canopy, which is a streaming service that you get when you have a library card.
This is actually a really cool thing. So tell about Canopy, actually.
We're going to do a quick Canopy segment.
Do a Canopy segment at the top.
Yeah. So basically what Canopy is, you can pause this after this and go watch the movie and come back to the podcast, which I know all of you are probably going to do. So if you have a library card, it's a streaming service that you just put in your library and your library card information, and it comes with actually a lot of really interesting movies. It has like TV shows too and stuff, so it's like just a really accessible streaming service that comes for free as long as you have a library card.
I did not know this existed.
Yeah, you can. I think you can watch 5 things a month.
5 a month,
which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's an extra 5 things than you would be able to watch otherwise. So,
and it's a lot of kind of not weird things, but things that maybe more Criterion Collection-esque.
Right.
So this movie is 2009's Oscar nominated The Secret of Kells.
Available on Canopy.
And so this is a very Irish movie, even though apparently it's like also French and something else. It's like all these
Belgian.
In Belgian. But since it's Irish, I have to go with my my Irish brethren and oh, Danny boy, the pipes are calling. That's like my best attempt.
Oh God, I'm gonna have to cut this.
How many times have we seen a movie that has Danny Boy in it? Or anytime I go to Ireland, which I'm a jet setter. I've only been twice, but it's every day. It's like, oh, well, we have Danny Boy. Like, they're very proud of Danny Boy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they did it so quickly in Belfast that I didn't even realize. When we were watching the movie Belfast in theaters, there's a scene where like this woman is singing some I didn't even realize it was Danny Boy, and I was like, why wasn't there any Danny Boy in this movie?
And I was like, there was Danny Boy.
Yeah, there was.
It's kind of like when you go to Scotland. Scotland is very proud of Amazing Grace, as well as one other song. Tom, do you know? It's not the Haggis song. Do you know what other song they're very proud of in Scotland?
In Scotland, I don't.
It's 500 Miles by the
Yes.
And I would walk. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You tuned in for a podcast, not a concert. So.
But yeah. All right. So it's very Irish. So there's Danny Boy. This is the first movie in, correct me if I'm wrong, Tom, the Cartoon Saloon Irish Myth Trilogy.
Irish Folklore Trilogy, actually.
Excuse me. Irish Folklore Trilogy. That's what I get for not doing my research.
Only because you said to correct you.
Yes. And so all 3 of these movies, Cartoon Saloon is like I don't know.
It's the animation studio.
The studio.
Yeah.
So it's
the Pixar.
Yeah, the Pixar of, I don't even know if it's Ireland. It's all made up of animated movies that all have been nominated for Best Animated Film at the Oscars, which is pretty impressive. The latest in the trilogy, and again, I didn't do any, I just picked from my brain. It was a little bit of a brain job.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
2020's Wolfwalkers. Is that the right year?
Yes.
Yeah. All right. And so Wolfwalkers came out a couple years ago. It did not come even close to winning for Best Animated Film, but it should have. And
I think it was the second highest in the odds, but it was behind Soul.
It was behind Soul. Like, there was no chance it was going to win.
Yeah.
And
I think in like the Vegas betting odds, it was ahead of Onward.
Oh, okay. That's pretty good. So that one's a personal favorite. We watched that in preparation for the 2021 Oscar ceremony. And it blew my mind open. I loved it so much.
Yeah, it was amazing.
So this one is the first in this trilogy that ends with Wolfwalkers. Tom, you have a couple of more facts about this movie because you actually looked things up.
Well, for like 45 seconds, but yeah, I mean the other movie is 2014 Song of the Sea. For those of you who are interested in completionism, these aren't true. It's not a true trilogy in that it's not the same plot. It's a thematic trilogy in that they all sort of have to do with Irish and Celtic folklore and all that and whatever. And they're all by the director, Tom Moore. So The Secret of Kells was nominated for Best Animated Feature at the 82nd Academy Awards in 2009. And, they happened to have a nice little streak of losing to Pixar because it, didn't beat Up.
I was about to say, it was Up, wasn't it?
Yeah. It has a 90% critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. People really liked it. The people who saw it. It received comparisons to other famous animated films like those by Hayao Miyazaki. Please, I hope I pronounced that correctly. Like Spirited Away and those types of movies. Roger Ebert in 2010, which was a couple of years before he died, reviewed this movie. He gave it 3 out of 4 stars. And he gave it a very interesting sort of review. He said that the movie has a wide appeal with a gap in the middle. I think it will appeal to children young enough to be untutored in boredom and to anyone old enough to be drawn in or to appreciate the artistry. For those in between, who he called the Transformers Damaged Generation, it will seem to be composed in a quaint, unknown language. Meaning it's very folky, it's not super action-packed, it's, true to where it comes from and the myths that it comes from. It's about a book. It's about writing a book, essentially. So it's not like your Mitchell's vs. the Machines type of high-octane animated movie.
Worth a watch anyway.
Yeah, I love Mitchell's vs. the Machines. So I'm going to throw it back to you to talk a little bit more about what the movie is about, which is this thing called the Book of Kells.
Yeah. So the movie is largely about the creation of this kind of mysterious, not mysterious book. And so it's basically like a fancy illustrated Bible. I believe it's in Latin. And it has a ton of kind of gorgeous illustrations. So they have a lot of animal pictures in it. There's a lot of sort of Irish kind of symbolism in it. And something that I want to talk about later on that is kind of alongside of the movie, there's tons of these swirls and beautifully kind of crafted circular pictures. It feels very folky, and it was created back in 800 AD around about, which, pretty long time ago. And it also has like lots of gold on it. So it's very fancy, a very prized possession. And it's currently found at the Trinity College in Dublin, Ireland. Now, back when I graduated from college a billion years ago.
That was about the 8th century AD or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Right after the book came out, I went to Ireland and as well as some parts of the UK, Wales and England. And I was able to go to Trinity College in Dublin, and the library there is amazing. It's really beautiful. It's probably the most beautiful library I've ever been to. And so they have the Book of Kells on display. From what I remember them telling me, they turn one page of the Book of Kells every single day. So when you go and visit, you can go in line and wait, and then you can take a look behind glass of this amazing old book with all its colors and glory. And so I do not remember at all what page I saw. Also, it's in a different language, so I wouldn't know anyway. I found it to be very overrated. There's some things that like when I go see it, I'm like, there it is. Like, I don't get it, but I mean, it's cool. It's like, wow. Yeah.
This is a really killer intro to the movie.
I don't know. Like it's old. It's a cool old, like the book it still looks kind of newish. They did a nice job preserving it. But what I really remember is, there was a guy in front of me who would not move from this book. He was like parked in front of it.
He was waiting for the next day. He was waiting for the next page.
He was like trying to read it and like looking at the pictures, taking pictures through the glass, which was not going to happen.
Black Friday vibes at Trinity College.
At one point, he even like put his arms like around the glass to like be the only one that could look at it. So I, with my South Jersey trash that comes out every now and then, I looked at him and I whispered, when you're done, I'm just going to lay on top of it. And he got the hint and he moved. And he probably was like, dumb American. I hate you. But then I got to look at it and I wanted to be like, nah, you can come back. It's really like, I don't really need to see it. Yeah. But I mean, you know, now if I saw it after seeing this movie with a little more context, a little more background, maybe I would appreciate it a little bit more.
Maybe.
You never know.
Yeah.
Still, Dublin's lovely. Highly recommend going. Book of Kells, you know. You could see it if you want. If
you watch this movie, maybe you want to see where it came from.
I think so. And you know what? Now, if I went back, I would try and see it again.
I would be like, oh, that's what Aisling helped them write.
Exactly. So, yeah, Tom, give us a little bit of a synopsis of this movie, even though I know everyone's already seen it.
Yeah. So, in case you don't want to be spoiled, I will again put the timestamp in the description so that you can skip to after my direct spoiling of the entire movie. So as we sort of alluded to, we start in 9th century England. We meet the protagonist, Brendan, who's a little kid. I don't think we get his exact age. He's played by Evan McGuire, who is, I believe, known for The Secret of Kells.
Yeah.
He lives in the Abbey of Kells, which is essentially a town which is run by his uncle, the Abbot Callagher. So I'm going to mostly refer to him either as the uncle or the Abbot or Brendan Gleeson.
Which wouldn't really work because the main character's name is Brendan.
I will specify Gleeson.
There you go.
So the Abbot's duty is basically to protect the Abbey from the Viking invasions that were going on. It's a very, I feel like it's a sort of like pagan type story where, you know, they're trying to avoid conquest. So the Abbot's main goal is to build a wall around the Abbey in order to, you know, protect from invasion. So Brendan starts to hear rumors of this monk whose name is Brother Aidan. And he is alleged to be an illuminator who is working on a book that is supposed to turn darkness into light. Brother Aidan shows up in Kells after his other previous monastery was destroyed by the Vikings, and he's got his white cat, Panger Ban, that comes with him.
He's so cute.
He is. It's a very classical animated movie where you have a sort of a cute animal avatar that comes with the protagonist or joins with the protagonist. So Brother Aidan arrives in Kells to serve under the abbot and continue his work on his book. Brendan wanders into Aidan's scriptorium, which is basically his office, and he finds an unfinished book guarded by Pangerban, at which point Aidan enters. And, you know, he sees that Brendan is sort of curious and all that, and he tells him about the book that he's writing. Not only that, but he enlists Brendan for some help because, you know, who doesn't want a little bit of free child labor? He sends Brendan and Pangerban into the woods for some supplies to make ink for the book. I don't know why he would send a child into the woods while there were, you know, rumors of Viking invasions. And this guy literally just came from a place that was destroyed by the Vikings. But anyway, he does it anyway. Brendan doesn't run into Vikings, but he runs into wolves. And he's saved by a wolfwalker fairy named Aisling, who can shapeshift between wolf and sort of like a white-haired young girl.
Wow.
Okay.
Wait, that's more of a cat.
Yeah. You can work on it. There's Aisling is wary at first, but she decides to help him when she finds out he's working on Brother Aidan's unfinished book because apparently she's a voracious reader. The two have a close call with Crom Cruach, who I'm going to call Crom for the rest of this. And he's a pagan god of Ireland before, you know, Christianity hit. And he lives in this like pitch black cave-like realm of darkness, which is somehow in the middle of this forest because, you know, we're just going to roll with it.
I liked that. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. So they get away. Brendan returns to the Abbey and his uncle's like, dude, you got to stay here. You can't. You're going to die. You're literally going to die. And I'm not even talking about Crom. I'm talking about the Vikings who we watched the Northmen not too long ago. You saw what those Vikings were doing.
Yeah. Yeah, but here's the thing too. The uncle is like kind of very strict. So he didn't say it like that. He said it like, you will not leave.
Yes. But he's also we'll get to the uncle later, so I'll leave that there. But anyway, nevertheless, Brendan continues to work with Aiden because he's interested and he thinks this book is kind of cool. So Aiden tells him that the book might not be finished though, because he's missing something. He's missing a special magnifying lens, which is in the possession of, you guessed it, our guy Crom. Mm-hmm. So
I just don't understand why Aiden can't do all this stuff himself.
He's an old man, but I also don't know why he's sending a little kid.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, Brendan tries to go back to the cave. His uncle catches him and essentially grounds him. But you can't stop the ethereal beings because Pangerban and Aisling break Brendan out of his room. But when they get to the cave, Aisling starts to have second thoughts. She reveals that Crom killed her entire race and that it would do the same to Brendan because he's like an unarmed little kid. And Crom is literally the pagan god of death and destruction.
Yeah, pretty kind of power. The power dynamic's a little off there.
If we're talking the tail of the tape, Brendan is not looking pretty good. Brendan says that Aiden's book will never be completed without Crom's eye, though. They begin to call it the eye. Aisling holds the door to the cave, which is like a giant stone door, right?
Yeah.
And she's like kind of withering away from the pull of Crom's, I guess, death and destruction powers. And she's telling Brendan to complete the book in order to finally turn darkness into light. And then she's like pretty much just crushed by the door, right?
Yeah.
I think that's what happened. When Brendan jumps into the cave, he gets into this big duel with Crom and he somehow blinds him by grabbing the eye. Crom ends up eating himself from his tail on up, which is some sort of symbol that I didn't pick up on.
That scene was wild.
It was crazy. It was really, really awesome animation.
Really beautifully done.
So Brendan takes the eye, he returns to the forest, and he finds the forest covered in white flowers, much like Aisling. He goes back to the Abbey and he finds that the Vikings are on their way. So we're not looking good here. Knowing that Brendan and Aiden are still working on the book, the uncle rips a page out of the book and he confines the two to Aiden's scriptorium. He says, yeah, just don't come out of your office, but also don't do any work. The Vikings invade and pretty much what's happening here. They get right through the gate. They shoot the uncle with an arrow and a sword. And stab him with a sword, lighting the scriptorium on fire in the process. Aiden and Brendan use the ink that they had, cobbled together to create a diversion and sneak away from the Viking raiders. They basically make like a plume of green smoke and they get away. So although they, can't help his uncle, Brendan, Aiden, and Pangerban flee to the forest where they're pursued by the Vikings. Aisling's wolves scare some Vikings and they kill some others. She's not messing around here. No. And Brendan picks up the final page of the book. As he does so, he stares into the eyes of a white wolf, clearly hinted to be Aisling, who then walks off. Though it's then revealed that the abbot survived in the smoldering ruins of Kells, Brendan and Aiden don't really find out. They travel across Ireland, eventually complete the book. As Aiden is dying, he's super old, he gives Brendan the book, and adult Brendan returns to Kells with Pangerban alongside the white wolf. Brendan speaks with his uncle and shows him what is now called the Book of Kells, and the movie ends showing the most ornate illumination in the book called the Cairo page with all its elaborate detail, and the credits roll.
Yeah, that last little part there with Aiden and Brendan starting to complete the book is sort of like the Hakuna Matata scene in Lion King, where he goes from baby
it's
to
like a
adult.
montage type thing, yeah.
Exactly. So that was a really good synopsis there, Tom. I think you pretty much hit it all.
I mean, I stumbled over some of the names. The names are rough.
They're very, very Irish. And it's sort of the same in Wolfwalkers, right? You have Maeve, which is spelled Mebh.
Do you remember the other character?
I think Robin.
Robin.
That one's easy. Yeah. But yeah, so
the singer.
Like the singer. I love Robin. Yeah, good job. So some of the discussion points that I came up with, I wrote just a couple of things down. Now, the dialogue is, as Roger Ebert kind of alluded to, if you're not really kind of in it and paying attention, it can feel like it's in a different language a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, it's a very simple story, but the way that it's presented is a little bit out there for American audiences.
Yeah. And one of the quotes that I really liked that Aiden said, brother Aiden, who looks like this really old, white hair, long beard.
He looks like Saruman or Gandalf from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, kind of, but more just like that mixed with Uncle or Grandpa Phil from Hey Arnold.
Yeah, sort of, I guess.
And he had a quote that I just really liked, and I don't even know what it means. I just like the vibe of it. And it says, there's nothing in this life but mist, is there, lad?
Ooh.
Isn't that kind of cool?
That's deep.
It is deep.
I think.
I don't even know what it means.
I mean, maybe it's like nothing but the unknown. You just have to forge forward.
I kind of like it. I just feel like I've been really into the nothing matters and that's freeing kind of vibe lately.
Yeah, I guess.
Great
to be welcoming a child into the world.
It's almost a kind of a nice feeling, right? And you know, the thought there's nothing in this life but mist.
I'm all about that. I'm all about the stuff like when you look into space, it's like, oh wow, I'm like insignificant, completely insignificant.
Yeah.
Which to me is comforting. To other people it might not be, but
yeah, I kind of like it, and I got a similar kind of feeling from that quote there. But one of the things that I think is a huge, big part of this film and probably the acclaim that it received, because like you said, it's a very simple story, is the animation.
Absolutely. The style of the movie is what sets it apart.
It's amazing. It's truly gorgeous. I would make the argument that it might even be more beautiful than Wolfwalkers was.
They're close.
Yeah. I mean, it's a similar style.
But this one specifically had to do with something that people see as vibrant and beautiful.
Right.
The Book of Kells itself. So
the movie reflects that style.
Yeah. You sort of had to do that for this movie.
So some of the things that I noticed about the animation that is really, I think, is different from what we've come to expect from animated movies, especially with CGI. Nope. Computer generated. Yeah.
That's CGI.
Yeah. With Pixar. And don't get me wrong. Pixar movies are wonderful and the animation is stunning. Disney movies, it's stunning. Yeah. But it all looks a certain way, right?
Yeah, you can tell the second you see it.
Exactly. And then you can even tell, like, with the DreamWorks ones, when you've got Minions and all that. Like, there's very distinct certain animation styles that are very popular and have been for 20 years.
The Miyazaki stuff, too.
Exactly.
We've never seen any of them, and we can tell when one of them is
exactly.
Is from him.
Shout out Framed if you don't play Framed.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's like a Wordle for movie
stills.
Stills, yeah, it's cool. But what I liked about this animation, I alluded to it earlier. There's tons of swirls everywhere. Everything feels like it's rounded.
Yeah, and symmetrical.
And symmetrical. And what's interesting, that scene that Tom talked about, that you talked about with the Crom kind of eating himself and all that.
Yeah.
Crom was straight lines, and it was almost like he was creating a square. Which was juxtaposed by all those swirls. And I found that to be really interesting.
Well, I mean, he's supposed to, I think, represent the Vikings. So it's an unfamiliar shape, you know, sort of coming to form in this world that is full of roundedness and sort of symmetry, and now it's something that is sharp and dark and everything that is coming to replace that.
And if we look sort of at what we talked about in Pan's Labyrinth, nature is filled with those swirls and with rounded edges and things like that. And our modern world, not that we're in the modern world in Secret of Kells.
But I think that's the threat.
Yeah, exactly. The threat of that has more of those harsh lines. I'm looking at a refrigerator right now, and it's just a box.
I'm looking at a fence and a railing.
Yeah, and you compare that to what a gentle leaf will look like, or the white flowers in the forest in the movie. And I think that's probably purposefully done.
Yeah, and I mean even something that you would consider sharp and dangerous, like a wolf. Like Ashling's not very sharp, or she's
sharply
white, she's
drawn.
She's totally rounded.
Yeah. Something else that's really cool about this animation style is the flat perspective. Did you notice that?
Yeah.
That it's not really, there's nothing that's sort of 3D or even something that has that perspective. I took Art 101 and I learned about creating perspective with buildings. I was so bad at art.
So you're pretty much an expert.
So I pretty much know what I'm talking about. And the lowest grade I ever got in college was in art history.
Okay. I took art history in high school.
I did.
Shout out Miss Charmello.
I got a B- in college, and it was the worst grade I ever. No, it was just a B. I never got a B-.
Wow.
Oh my God, no, of course not. But the flat perspective is really, really cool in this movie, especially because you usually have like characters in the forefront and then a sort of like watercolor background.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like watercolors.
They show depth and contrast through color rather than like actual depth or contrast.
Yeah, I really would be interested to see if there's like a video out there of them creating it, because you know how Disney does all that.
Yeah, maybe.
And then the other one I saw was the colors. So if you think of stained glass, that is almost what I thought of when I was watching this movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, what do you associate stained glass with? Christianity, and that sort of is a thing that would be used in this type of movie when you're talking about essentially the creation of a book about Christianity.
Right. Really, really cool. So, Tom, that actually brings me to a question that I have. What was your favorite aspect of the animation in this movie? Out of all those things or something else, what did you kind of like most about it?
I just like the colors. I like everything is just vibrant. Everything feels like it's alive, and there's such a focus on the natural world in this movie, especially the wolves and Aisling and all that, and even what's his name, Panker Ben. Like everything that they're trying to record in this book is supposed to be reflective of the beauty of the natural world, and that's a lot of what it is. It's a lot of like, I'm colorblind, so like this isn't exactly like you're not going to get an artistic analysis from me, but it's like everything looked really like lush and green and obviously green. You think of Ireland, you think of green. That's exactly the color that sticks out in my head when I think about this movie.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go with the colors and the shades of the colors and all that.
Yeah, I agree. I actually find I don't love animated movies overall because I find animation creepy. And so I did find some of the characters a little off-putting in their look. Like the uncle and how like tall and lean he was. It freaked me out.
Well, yeah. I mean, he's supposed to be like a
imposing, kind of stern figure. I listen, I get it. It's not pretty to look at for me.
This isn't really related to this, but the interesting thing about the uncle to me was that I think he's like thin and skinny, because I mean, he's trying his best to help his people. Like he's not just like some giant, massive, scary guy. Like he also has the element of like, I'm just trying to get by
alongside of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And his domineering personality is sort of just his way of trying to keep control over the people that he's legitimately trying to protect.
Yeah. And listen, I think that the way the character is drawn totally reflects that.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
But I just don't like to look at it.
No, I get that. But it's Brendan Gleeson.
It is Brendan Gleeson, which brings me to another question I have.
Oh, no.
Which has nothing to do with this, though. Oh. So we should probably skip it.
Why?
Or get to it later. I just want to know what your favorite Brendan Gleeson role is. So Brendan Gleeson is not exactly the most famous actor out there. So if you don't really know him...
He should be.
He's probably best known as Mad Eye Moody to American audiences.
Yeah, you all know him from Mad Eye Moody. Because if you haven't seen the Harry Potter movies that Mad Eye Moody is in, then you probably aren't listening to this podcast.
I think he recently either was nominated or won an Emmy for playing Trump in something in like an HBO show
or Showtime or something.
Yeah. And so he's a very prolific Irish actor.
Very prolific. Tons of movies.
What else, Tom, would you say that he is kind of known for?
I'm going to roll through some of his credits on Wikipedia. So he was in Braveheart. He was in Michael Collins, which obviously, because that's a very Irish movie. He was in the classic Lake Placid. He was in Mission Impossible 2, AI Artificial Intelligence, 28 Days Later, Gangs of New York, Cold Mountain. He was in Troy, The Village. Then he was in the Harry Potter movies. He was in Beowulf. He was in Bruges. He was in The Guard, which I absolutely love. He was in The Smurfs 2. He was in Edge of Tomorrow. This guy's been in so much stuff. So not only was he in all of these movies, he was in Paddington too.
Well, I mean, obviously that would be my answer for my own question of what my favorite Brendan Gleeson role is.
Yeah.
He plays Knuckles.
Yes.
Who is the the cook in the prison that Paddington is sent to in Paddington 2. At one point voted the greatest movie of all time.
Yes, as it says on our fridge.
Yes, we have a sticker on our fridge for it.
Mine, do you want to mine?
Yours is The Guard.
Mine's The Guard. I mean,
yeah, I already knew it.
I mean, it's Brendan Gleeson just allowed to be Brendan Gleeson in a feature role.
He's so cantankerous.
Exactly. And so The Guard is a movie by John Michael McDonough, who's the brother of the guy who did like 3 Billboards.
Yeah. And In Bruges, right?
Did he do In Bruges? Well, which one of them did In Bruges?
I don't know.
Oh, Martin. Yeah, Martin did In Bruges.
So the brother did The Guard.
Yes. And basically, Brendan Gleeson is a police officer that has to do, his cases have to do with drug trafficking and all this. And he's in like sort of a love-hate relationship with his partner who's brought in from, is it England or the States? I don't know.
It's Don Cheadle.
Who's Don Cheadle. So it's Brendan Gleeson and Don Cheadle basically in a buddy cop movie. And, Mark Strong's in it as the bad guy, of course. Always. And it just lets Brendan Gleeson shine. And that's what I love about it. It's a very fun movie.
Yeah, I loved The Guard. So many bad words in that movie.
Yes. Between all those guys.
Yeah. And Paddington 2, no bad words.
Well, not until the 4th one, apparently.
The 4th one?
No, but remember the tweet I sent you the other day?
Oh my god. Yeah.
I will post a link to that tweet in the description.
No, if you haven't seen The Guard, definitely check that one out. But if you haven't seen Paddington 2, you're dead to me.
Yeah. You're not allowed to listen to this podcast if you haven't seen Paddington 2.
I'm sorry. I don't know what else to tell you.
You can, Paddington 1's excellent too, but...
It's great. Oh, I love Paddington, period.
You have to have seen Paddington 2. Turn this off right now if you haven't seen Paddington 2.
Yeah, and never come back.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. No, but he in Paddington 2 is really, I think, part of has the most heart in the most heart-filled movie.
Knuckles, baby.
Knuckles. We love Knuckles. So yeah, Brendan Gleeson is awesome. And those, you just listed his movie credit.
Oh yeah, there's a ton of other stuff.
He's in TV too.
Yeah.
And his son, Donald Gleeson, you probably know from...
Also from Harry Potter.
Harry Potter. He's one of the...
Is he Bill Weasley?
Oh yeah, he's Bill Weasley.
Yeah.
One of the Weasleys.
He's either Bill or Charlie, but I think he's Bill.
I think he's Bill. He was in one of our favorites from the 2010s, Ex Machina.
Yeah.
He was in Brooklyn.
He was in one of the episodes of Black Mirror from the earlier seasons.
Oh yeah, one of the best episodes. Him and Haley Atwell.
Be Right Back is
yeah. Oh, that one's wild.
Yeah.
And he's just in all kinds of stuff.
He was in Star Wars Rogue One.
Star Wars, yeah. And so that's Brendan Gleeson's son.
Yeah. This is a we're gonna go on a deep dive of Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah, clearly we could talk about Brendan Gleeson till the end of time.
Yes.
But he is also in at least this one and Wolfwalkers. I think he's in Song of the Sea as well.
Is he?
I believe so.
You might be right. I'm looking it up right now.
And really,
he was.
Yeah, he's like pretty much the only, I would say, like world famous actor that are in any of these Cartoon Saloon movies. Yeah,
I think so. I'm looking at Song of the Sea. I don't see anybody that is like a star.
Yeah. Not that they aren't stars in their own right.
No, of course.
But yeah, he's kind of this bringing the star power to these 3 movies, and I
don't think he was in Wolfwalkers.
He wasn't the dad in Wolfwalkers?
I don't think so.
Oh shoot!
I'm looking up Wolfwalkers.
Who was the dad in Wolfwalkers? I think it was somebody famous then.
Oh no, it was Sean Bean.
Oh, Sean Bean,
yeah.
Who I also enjoy. All right, so there's our Brendan Gleeson God segment, of which I'm sure there will be many later on. I just love him. I just think he is one of the best actors, and he's so cute. Oof, I love him.
He's a guy who. He's a quintessential example of an actor who has a gruff exterior, but is so good at playing like a more nuanced version of the tough guy, confrontational type of character.
I think that's exactly it. Yeah. So one of the other things I wanted to talk about, Tom, is I wrote this part in before the end. I felt like throughout much of the movie, there was a very calm vibe to it.
Until the Vikings hit.
And then the Northmen came. But I found it to be much different in tone and in pacing than a lot of movies that are coming out nowadays. Talking about what Roger Ebert said again, I totally agree. I said it's much different than the idea that animated movies need to be action-packed to interest kids. What do you think about that?
Well, I mean, if you think about this year that this came out, Up is kind of like that too.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think
Up has stakes.
Up has stakes, and it also has all those dogs and
that's true. And like
there is some action.
There is some action in there.
But that's not my favorite part.
Squirrel.
Yeah, all and like the who's Jack Kemp? Is that the guy that was in the hot air balloon?
That was his. Is
that really his name? Did Jack I just Kemp. Like come out of, or is Jack Kemp some like serial killer?
I don't know.
Like I feel like
I guess I'll have to look that one up too, because I think we should get this one right.
Yeah, in case I say that he's somebody that's like really bad that I like had no idea.
Yeah.
He's played by somebody famous.
I don't know who Jack Kemp is.
Who is Jack Kemp?
You're talking about Charles Muntz, who was played by Christopher Plummer.
Oh my god, I love Christopher Plummer.
R.I.P.
Wait, type in Jack Kemp. I'm so scared on who Jack Kemp is.
Was a former football player that was an American politician.
Who is that?
He was housing secretary for President H.W. Bush. He served 9 terms in the House of Representatives. Is this the guy that you're talking about?
I don't know. I was talking about Christopher Plummer in Up. I don't know how the name Jack Kemp. No, do you know what it was? Was he up for vice president at some point in like one of the other administrations? Because that was a trivia question that we had at Reckless Town.
Oh my god, it was.
And the answer was Jack Kemp. And somewhere in the synapses of my brain, I connected a trivia question that we weren't able to answer to him being the old guy in, not Carl, but like the other old guy in Up. Then.
He was the Republican Party's vice presidential nominee in 1996 as the running mate of Bob Dole.
Yeah, that's exactly who I knew him. Pregnancy brain is what I'm going to blame it on here.
And that was the Jack Kemp segment of this episode.
Oh my god, that was like a 5-minute like total. We have to keep that in though.
Oh no, that's 100% staying.
Jack Kemp, yo, what up?
No,
we don't like Jack Kemp.
No.
Okay. Anyway,
I don't know about him personally, but
all right. But yeah, no, I think that Up. My favorite parts of Up were the more chill parts. I like more of a calm vibe when it comes to some movies.
Well, I think you could tell when we talked about School of Rock. Yeah.
It's just chilling.
Yeah. There's no stakes in that movie.
Well, there are stakes in Secret of Kells.
Of course.
Everyone's like pillaged.
Well, it's like you're going to die or you're, you have to conquer this existential threat. But
that's not the majority of what the movie is. The most of it's just like, oh, I'm going in the forest. I'm going to get some berries. I met a wolf girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think that's cool.
No, you know what? I'm going to disagree with you on this. This is a pretty dark movie.
Well, that leads me to my last question, which was after I got to a certain point, I was like, ooh, my calm vibe kind of evaluation is kind of thrown out the window. Did you find this ending as scary as I did?
What do you mean by the ending? Like
the Northmen coming and literally killing everyone.
I thought you meant literally the ending. Of
No.
Yeah, that's horrifying.
Yeah.
There's got to be, I didn't do research for this like I did for Pan's Labyrinth, but like there's got to be something that relates our guy Calm.
Yeah.
Was that his name?
Colic.
Yeah. Crom.
Oh, Crom.
Our guy Crom.
The scary man.
With the Vikings. He's obviously supposed to represent the Vikings and paganism and something that's an existential threat to Christianity.
Sure.
So is it like when they kill Crom, when Crom dies, that is like right when the Vikings attack.
Yeah.
So is that supposed to symbolize like that they're getting revenge or that he sort of unleashed them?
I mean, I feel like the Vikings and the Northmen were this threat that was looming over the whole movie, and it was just considered to be a matter of time before they hit. I don't know if it was coincidental that a big major pagan god happened to die right before they showed up.
Yeah.
Or not. But it's possible.
Yeah. and right as they were getting close to finishing the book.
Yeah. That's cool.
Which would have cemented Christianity or whatever in the region.
All I know is that this went from, oh yeah, I could put this on while like I have a toddler, to, oh no, I can't.
Yeah.
Because
he might have to watch the Northmen first.
No, definitely not. The Northmen, it's like the baby version of the Northmen.
But from the other side.
It's like the Kids Bop version of the Northmen.
But from the other side of that scene where they just destroyed that entire village.
That scene was so bad in the Northmen. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely not that bad in Secret of Kells, but it's scary.
Absolutely.
It's very, it's got all the animation style changes a bit. You have like, the guys stab people.
Yeah. The uncle gets hit with an arrow and stabbed.
And stabbed.
Yeah. I mean, he lives, but still, a lot of people don't.
Not a lot of people live.
Very few people live.
And it takes a really kind of strong turn.
Everything burns down.
Yeah. And I was very surprised when that happened.
Well, they sort of set you up because they give you the stuff with the wolves in the beginning when he's in the forest. And then they give you the existential battle against the pagan god of death and destruction.
And those scenes were scary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's just different. This is clearly the climax.
Yes.
So, yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely scary. But it's not like it comes out of nowhere.
I guess not. I mean, I just thought that it was a major vibe switch.
Yeah, I mean, you sort of thought that it was over when he defeated a god.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And I thought, oh, and then the Vikings aren't going to be able to make it through. No, they made it through.
Well, maybe it's something like it's not the gods that are the danger. It's the man. It's man itself.
Oh, Lord.
Man versus man instead of man versus
Wow, look at your
food.
Conflicts. I think that's
You're gonna
actually
let man versus
food
slip by?
I used to love that show. I actually think that's a very good point. And that connects to Pan's Labyrinth.
It really does. I mean, this movie is a similar type of folky tale as Pan's Labyrinth was. Not quite as dark. Because there's darkness here and there's death and there's killing, but I think Pan's Labyrinth was darker than this.
Oh my God, yeah.
Because the whole movie was dark.
The whole movie was dark. This one, it wasn't. What do you have any questions? We're just talking about my stuff. I'm done.
I just have my, normal ones, which, we want to talk about the Mrs. Nesbitt Identity Crisis Award. Which,
that's easy.
Yeah.
Go ahead, tell me.
No, go ahead.
It's Kullock.
Yeah.
The uncle, Brendan Gleeson.
Yeah.
Tall, skinny man.
Yeah.
Because, as you were saying, he is seen as this kind of harsh figure through the eyes of Brendan, our protagonist. But he's just trying to keep his stuff together.
Yeah.
He's the one in charge of this abbey. And, okay, like, I'm in charge of this kid, too. We never find out what happens to Brendan's parents.
Yeah,
my
I'm
assumption is it's not good. And so now uncle is like, oh, well, I gotta really, really make sure that this kid's safe.
Yeah.
But from our perspective, we see him as like a villain almost.
There's even more than that. It's like he not only does he want to keep his nephew safe, there's Vikings that are coming.
It's not like keep everybody safe.
It's not like, oh, I just don't want my nephew to go out there because something might be out there that's going to hurt him. It's like, no, these Vikings are coming and they're going to kill people.
Yeah, and he's like building
his freaking this guy that he is like friends with that what's his name? Aiden is just letting this kid continue to go outside the walls.
Yeah, that's the
I would
other
be
thing.
so mad if I was Kullock.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. I think that he's very misunderstood and he's seen as the harsh figure, but he's really just trying to be protective.
You see it from the child's point of view, so it makes sense.
Exactly. Now, why would you give him the Miss Nesbitt Award, though?
Because he's sort of stuck between roles. He wants to be the person who is going to lead his people and keep his people safe, but at the same time, he has to figure out the right way to do that. And he thinks it's this wall, when really it was not the wall, it was the book that ended up, turning darkness into light.
And it seems to me, based on what I saw in his scenes, like in that little tower, where with all the, in the background, how it had all the, drawings of things.
Yeah.
I feel like that shows us that he used to be an artist.
I think they say that he was an illuminator at one point.
Yeah. And so that has to be really difficult for him
Yeah.
to have to be like, oh, don't do that. Don't draw and be good at that. When at the same time, that's all he did previously. And that was a passion that he had.
Well, it's interesting. It's sort of it's a man versus nature thing again. Like he is trying to hold things together using man-made stuff like a wall, when in fact the thing that's going to protect them was the stuff that they were finding in nature, like the ink and all that stuff that they were able to cobble together, and that eventually ended the siege by the Vikings.
And I think that it all comes together.
And the wolves, of course.
Of course. It all comes together at the end with him and his, I think, motivations when he's old. He's old AF at that point.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh.
Do I have to bleep out the F?
I don't think so. I think we're okay with that. And when adult Brendan comes, he had kept that piece of paper that he ripped out of the Book of Kells, probably to be like, oh, what did I do?
Well, he was also very rueful and regretful about how he had treated Brendan when he was younger.
Exactly. And I think that really is this kind of coming together moment of like, oh, redemption arc. Not that he even needed it, but like from the perspective that we're given.
And his own perspective.
And his own. He got that moment at the end.
Yeah.
So Miss Nesbit was able to figure it out.
Yeah. Exactly. Ms. Nesbit once again became Buzz Lightyear.
That's beautiful.
And the other thing that I said we wanted to include, there wasn't much here. This was not the right episode to start our recurring food segment.
This is awesome, actually.
There is one piece of food that we saw in this entire movie.
Woo!
And I would like for you to talk about it.
It's bread.
Just white bread.
Which is honestly kind of my perfect meal.
Yeah. And I mean, it makes sense. It's this besieged little town in Ireland that, you know, what are they really? They're lucky they have bread, honestly, with the way that things were going down.
That bread looked so good. You know what I'm talking about when you think about animated bread. It's got like at the, you know how it has like the thing at the top where it's like nice and circular on either side. And then you got the
symmetrical, round.
So good. And so I would eat that bread. And in fact, you found a recipe what is it, like a cartoon?
Yeah, some sort of website that puts together recipes from cartoons and animated stuff, and they sort of remake the food that was made in those movies.
Yeah,
I forgot what it was called.
Yeah, and there's a recipe for just bread.
Yeah,
it just says bread.
Just that bread specifically from that movie.
I love that.
Cartoon Cravings, it's called.
How cute is that?
Yeah, it's great.
So yeah, I'm team bread. Obviously, those that know me, which is all of you, I'm sure, know that bread is pretty much the bottom, middle, and top of my food pyramid.
Yeah. This one says, long before the Irish grew their first potato, they had mostly bread and water. So I pulled together my findings and made a quote-unquote authentic loaf of bread. Although tasty, it didn't look a thing like the bread in the movie, so I changed stuff up and modernized it a bit and created my take on Irish buttermilk oat bread. So that's what the recipe is for.
Yum. And, you know, in Ireland, a lot of the bread that we've eaten is brown bread, which, you know, it's not really like the bread at Cheesecake Factory, like the brown bread at Cheesecake Factory, which is really quite good. But maybe I'm just some dumb American who's like, I want sugar in my bread, you know?
Yeah, I don't know.
All I know is this bread looked like it slapped. I would have eaten it all day. And I love when food is in movies.
Yeah. So listen, if we could make a food segment about this movie, we can do it about any movie.
Oh, yeah. Heck yeah.
As long as food exists in the movie.
I'm thinking about the scene from the next movie we're going to do. And there's a scene.
Yes.
I already know what it is. And I don't like it. And you do.
So do we want to start with go to the last question?
Well, yeah, let's do the last
That's all
question.
That's all I've got.
I want to know, because you did not rate this high on Letterboxd.
I didn't. I gave it 3.5 stars.
3.5. I gave it my good old trusty 4 out of 5, which I do if I like a movie, which I like this movie.
I give ones that I like a 3.5, ones that I really like a 4. Then if you're getting a 4.5 or a 5, it's like you're my upper echelon.
You're a little bit harsher than me.
But I'm not harsh at all.
No, I guess
I give
not.
mostly.
I just find a 3.5 to be sad.
I give mostly everything a 3 or 3.5.
Wow, that is like crazy. So with your 3.5, I guess since you're saying that's an okay thing, you would put this on Baby's First watch list.
Yeah, 100%. Why not?
What is the age? This is the big question with the scary stuff. What's the age that you would be okay with our child watching this?
It's funny because thinking about the age of a child, I have absolutely no frame of reference.
I know.
So I don't know. I'm gonna go with like, I don't know, 7.
7?
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, why not?
Because like they're able to comprehend what's going on and able to sort of like the animation style and stuff. But like Roger Ebert said, they're not part of like that I'm too cool for this age group yet. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they might be a little freaked out and scared, but I don't know. He's got to deal with it at some point.
I like that. I agree. I think that that's a good age for it. Again, we have no idea.
Yeah, sure. I guess we'll
and
figure
it may
out
be, it's all, of course, it depends on the individual.
It may end up being 4. Who knows?
It may end up being born, pop it in.
Yeah. That being said, I would show him Wolfwalkers first.
I would too. I was going to say that Wolfwalkers, I thought was taken to another level.
Well, it also had songs and stuff. It
cool. Had such a good song in it. I was singing that song for like weeks afterwards.
You wanted to have a Wolfwalkers themed nursery.
I did. Point. I actually wanted our nursery to be Wolfwalkers themed. It didn't turn out that way, but
it actually hasn't turned out at all yet.
Well, that's not my fault. But what I will say is this, Tom, we are in the final like stages of name choosing, and we're choosing a name that means strong wolf in Irish.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that I think is a nice connection to our Wolfwalkers fandom.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So I guess that's that for this episode.
I'm such a mark for, is that the right terminology?
Sure. Yeah.
A mark for Irish stuff. So yeah. I was going to give this a 4 out of 5 no matter what.
Yeah, even if it sucks. That sounds about right.
Yeah, anything Irish,
it doesn't
I like.
Suck.
No, and it doesn't.
At all.
But if it's Irish, I'm putting it on Baby's Watchlist.
Yeah, and I would recommend that if you have not watched it yet, if you disobeyed us and didn't pause the podcast and watch the movie before you finish.
And Paddington too.
Yeah, exactly. You have a marathon before you have to finish this. I recommend it regardless. Again, on Canopy.
On Canopy.
Who will be our first sponsor at some point.
I don't think they have any money to be doing that.
Tax money.
Okay. What's next on our watch list?
So next episode, we are going to be talking about a movie that went pretty far in our 2010s
bracket that we did, yeah.
Which was a little bit of a surprise for us because I didn't think it was going to go as far as it did. It's a great movie.
I love this movie.
It is one that you probably have seen. We're going to switch it up from the Pan's Labyrinth and Secret of Kells episodes. And our next episode is going to be on Easy A with Emma Stone.
I love this movie so much. It's like literally one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah, I'm not even sure if we're going to rewatch it before. Like, if we have to rewatch it. We might rewatch it anyway.
I kind of want to rewatch. I've seen it so many times.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like it's always on E.
We'll just have E on 24/7 and figure it out.
Great. Then the Kardashians, we're golden.
Oh, never mind. I actually took this back. Yeah, so I think that's what we're going to end up doing next. So, you have anything else?
No, I'm pumped. This wasn't bad. I thought this was going to be like a 2-second episode.
No. We're at 53 minutes right now.
Spot on.
Yeah. So again, do the whole like and subscribe thing and follow us on Instagram, which we will have changed by this. It will be at Baby's First Watch List.
Yeah, I think in the first episode we say it's at Motion Picture Madness.
We do, but hopefully if you're still listening,
yeah, who cares?
You already know. You already follow us.
You already know us.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I think we are good to go, and that's pretty much it.
Okay, sláinte.
All right.
That means cheers.
Okay. See you later.
Bye.